afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the BookLinks Children's Choice Awards Summit. I acknowledge that I'm hosting this summit from the lands of the Jagera, Yuggera, and Yuggera people. I also acknowledge the traditional custodians of the various lands on which you all work today, and any Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people participating in this session. I pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging, and celebrate the diversity of Aboriginal peoples and their ongoing cultures and connections to the lands and waters of our country. There are a number of Children's Choice Awards throughout this country, Australia, and indeed throughout the world. And today we're going to explore those happening here and in Singapore. There are also a couple of representatives supposedly coming in from Japan and Vietnam, as well as participants from Singapore. We have representatives from the following awards who will each speak about what they do, and at the end we will open to questions and sharing ideas. I know that there are also a few authors who have registered, so maybe they might like to tell us what the power of the awards are from their perspective at the end. The people who are speaking today are Megan Light from New South Wales with the Koala Awards, Rosie Martinez from the Northern Territory with the Croc Awards, Sarah Custance from Queensland with the Bilby Awards, Michelle Nye from Victoria with the Yabba Awards.
Hi.
Deb from WA with the, I can't pronounce it, I say it's Waber Award.
That's fine.
Yeah. And Barbara from Singapore with the Red Dot Awards. So we might ask Megan to speak first.
Thanks, Jenny. I'll just share my screen. So hello, everybody. My name is Megan Light. I'm the current president of the Kids Own Australian Literature Awards, Koala for short, in New South Wales. I was just thinking about the last time I actually had a conversation about groups of Children's Choice Awards. There's been Katie Day, who from Singapore and Europe Days, and we're just having a chat. So it's nice to have the Red Dot rep here, Barbara. And thank you, Jenny, for organising this. It's going to be terrific. Really looking forward to it. So I'll just share my screen, and I've just got a PowerPoint to share with you. And I'm just using Jenny's prompt questions about how he's run it and what's involved. And Jenny, I'm assuming that the questions are going to be right at the end or at the end of each speaker. How's that going to work?
I think at the end of each speaker, once they've heard everyone, because they might have the same question that will be pitched to all speakers.
Sure. Okay, that's fine. So I'll try and be 5 minutes, be really quick. I've just popped Koala's aims up there, and I know the first one is very much what we're all here about. It's about basically promoting and encouraging the enjoyment and appreciation of Australian literature for us, for children and young adults. For Koala and our interstate and territory partners, it's very much about involving the young readers from the get-go. So they actually nominate the books for the shortlist as well as the voting process. It's very much about the process throughout the year, not just the awards at the end that we try and focus on with our members too, developing students and readers' critical appreciation skills, and definitely giving recognition to Australian authors and illustrators, and broadening children's sort of general base and moving beyond what they already know. So here's a little flyer, an overview of how it works. The Real Awards heading stands for Reading and Enjoying Australian Literature, and it's an umbrella that sits over Yabba and Koala and Croc, and I'll explain, and I know Michelle will explain how that works too later on. We've been a Children's Choice Award since '86, and currently our committee is 7 people, predominantly teacher librarians from all the systems of schools, so Catholic, independent and government schools. We also have a professor from Sydney University who's a long-term standing member, and we have had booksellers and some other groups involved over the years, and some public library people, but predominantly teacher librarians at the moment. And we very much are working through schools at the moment, but very wanting to explore more of public library networks, and so very keen to talk about that later on today if possible. The Koala year essentially runs through term 1 when students nominate through their schools, term 2 where students are encouraged to read the shortlist, which is put together with nominations from Croc and Yabba, as well as us, and then the reading and voting in term 3, and then there's an awards day in term 4. We call our members, so basically people pay to join. At the moment, we've got an early bird special, and essentially it can be schools or public libraries. We offer a whole lot of practical ideas and resources and promo material, and I'll just jump over to that one. So the short lists. So these were the 4 categories that we have that we share with Yabba and Croc. So there's picture books, younger readers, older readers, and fiction. Again, all nominated by children. Those nominations come through the schools from library statistics and also from children's essentially nominating, and then their teacher sends those in, or the librarian. So there's 10 books per category. Then that gets collated with, as I said, the interstate and territory partners, and Michelle will probably talk to this too. And then we get a beautiful, big, huge poster, and the artwork is done by the previous picture book winner illustrator from the previous year. This is Heath Mackenzie's, and you can see that the 4 categories have been translated there, and that is received by all the member schools and available online as well. So term 2 and 3 is when the engagement and reading period happens. And again, we really try and support libraries and schools with exploring the shortlist. So it's not just the books kids know. I know for me that every year there's always a couple of books that I don't have in my library at school. And this year it was really terrific having a Bronwyn Bancroft there, having Sorry Day there. There was a lot of the very well-known populars, but there are a few that I know my particular students weren't aware of. So we very much focus on how do we engage the students with trying to read beyond what they know. And then on our website, and these are just some screenshots from there. So on the left, on those pages, nominating and voting, we have a whole lot of ideas of ways that schools can support the students to do that. And on the screenshot on the right, under members resources, we created that last year. So for our actual koala friends, the members, we go through and pull together a whole lot of online resources that they can use for each of the books. So we do all the scrolling through the internet for them. And we also create some of our own resources for our member schools to use. So the voting, schools can opt to do that in term 2 or 3. And it sits nicely along the Children's Book Council through Book Week. We find that it doesn't compete with it. It's very much about these are kids' books that adults have decided, and these are the ones that children have decided, and it's very interesting to see how they cross over. And I often find that quite a few books from the previous CBCA list often filtrate over into the following koalas, which is fantastic. So this is just a whole lot of screenshots, but essentially the voting is a bit of fun for kids. We basically use SurveyMonkey, and we've just moved to Google Forms to collect student votes. And we also ask kids to say why they choose the books they do, which is really helpful for them in terms of their critical literacy, but also gives us an insight into how they're persuading others. On the left is a photo, I think, called Cups and Counters, which I do with my little ones. It's anonymous voting, and they get to put their votes in the cups. There's sticky notes we've made. You can just do a standard tally sheet, and also paper versions. And then in term 4, we hold an awards day. So member schools can express interest in hosting the awards day at their school. So these are some photos from Blackheath Public School and North Rocks a few years back. You can see Morris Gleitzman and Aaron Blaby there. Our birthday koala cake on the left. And it's a terrific day. Unfortunately, because of the pandemic last year, we went to an online delivery of that. We pre-recorded our awards day ceremony, and this slide essentially just shows who was involved. So we had 4 schools send in videos to introduce all the category books, which was awesome because we actually had more schools sort of being involved in the presentation part of it rather than just coming to the awards day at a venue. We had authors and illustrators presenting the awards and obviously the acceptances. Ursula Dubasarski, who's the Children's Laureate at the moment, she welcomed us and made a gorgeous video. You can see her Bill and Ted koalas there. And then it allowed lots of different schools and members to hold their own awards at school if they couldn't make it to the awards day in the past. So it actually for us really opened up our awards ceremony to a much broader community. So we're going to take bits and pieces from that. And in the awards, we usually have an illustrator who illustrates live on stage. So this year, because it was online, Dub Leffler pre-prepared this beautiful illustration for us that ran through the awards ceremony. And that's raffled off to a member school. I think that's all I need to say about that part. The awards, I know Jenny asked, what do we give the winners? So we have a winner in each of the 4 categories, and then we have 2 honour books in each of the 4 categories. So the winners, we can see there, there's Terry and Tim Harris and Deborah Bella. They receive a certificate. And the winners, if you look at the top, right at the top where it says awards, there's a little mug. The winners receive a koala mug. And then over the years, we've mixed it up a little bit. You can see Terry's holding his really cute little egg cup there. We've given mouse pads, pens, all those sorts of things. We just get made with the koala logo on them. We also have a Hall of Fame and a Legend Award. So a Hall of Fame award is for a book that has been nominated 5 times, but has never won. So it gives it that recognition, but it also keeps the shortlist fresh over the years, because for a book to get on the shortlist, it can't have won before. It has to be published in the last 10 years, and it has to be a book rather than a whole series of books. And then Deb is holding her Legend Award there, and that is given to a person each year for their contribution to the world of children's literature. It can be an author, an illustrator, a librarian, all sorts of people involved in that area. We also collect data from particularly the online voting, and we ask students at the end 2 questions about, was the koala shortlist a useful guide for selecting books to read? And I apologise for my lack of updating my graph, but I've got some stats down the bottom. And essentially, it's a pretty good number. A lot of children, you can see there, from 40 up to 100%. So, 70-odd% of kids to 80% actually find this sometimes, often, almost definitely useful. It's a very small group that find it not useful. And then in terms of promoting wider reading, which I think is what this is really about, really important about broadening kids' reading choices and experiences, and finding out what other kids around the country are reading. You can see there that you've asked, did you read books from the koala shortlist that you hadn't read before? And over the years, that has stayed quite high, basically between 70 and just above 80%. So that's a really strong stat that's stayed through there, which we're really pleased with. Promotional material, the big poster up the top left and the little sticker on the right, that's our shortlisted sticker. They're both free to member schools and public libraries. And then the screenshot underneath on the slide is our merchandise, and schools can purchase this as part of their annual subscription. So we've got a bag, we've got gorgeous book that Kim Gamble illustrated, we've got some I Love Reading stickers, and we've got a couple of new banners as well that schools can purchase as part of their promotion. We've matched into the syllabus outcomes for those in schools that need to do that. That's our membership form, and we've just listed there the sorts of things that why membership is a great thing to be. Obviously, it gives students a voice in terms of what they read, sharing that with a broader audience, giving them agency. It's obviously promoting and encouraging Aussie literature, works quite well into the literature programs. It involves students every step along the way, from nominating right through to the awards day. It supports PRC. We had a look, we had about 85% of the koala shortlist or the Real Award shortlist books were on the PRC last year, which is fantastic. If we're actually at awards day in physical presence, the kids get to meet the authors and illustrators that can come to the awards day. It's awesome. We have a lovely book signing and experience at the end. Schools can actually host the awards day, which that may or may not happen again this year. And also they get to win original artwork and book prizes. We're on socials if you want to keep in touch. And that's about it from me, I think. That was a bit of a speed through. So thanks for listening. Does anyone have any questions?
Can you stop sharing your screen, please?
Yep. There we go.
That's great. I just find it a bit tricky to jump in and out of other things.
Or Jenny.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if I had something from Rosie or not.
No, it has failed. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know why. Anyway, sorry.
So we might just leave the questions till the very end and
Cool.
to come back and ask if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Rosie, do you think that you can do a talk now?
Yeah, that's all right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
over to
sorry,
you,
this
Rosie,
is-
up in the Northern Territory.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, hi everybody from the territory. We're a bit different up here. Anyway, for many reasons. And that's why our Kids Reading Noise Choice Awards are called Croc. I've been in this role for 14 years, and there hasn't been any data of how it came about, but it has changed over the years. Initially, we used to send a lot of packages to the schools to get the votes and that. And unfortunately, we only used to get 20 votes from the schools. So now what we do our library report and get our stats from there. And then we send it to Yara. And from that, we get our books, our shortlist. We're very happy sometimes to see some of our local authors on the list. And we're really excited to see the list and see that Johanna's there, Barry's there. Nick Bland also lives in the Territory, so we're really excited that they are there, because the children that come to our libraries that do read Barry, Johanna, our local authors, and we're really, we have them over at our libraries very often, and we like to support them. Anyway, so the way we do it a bit different. We launch it at our open day. We have during Library and Information Week, we have an open day, and people come and experience what libraries are all about. We have fun games and story times. Page and Dewey come out, which are our mascots, and we also launch our Croc Awards there. So the kids get to vote and go into the scavenger hunt for the day, and yeah, that's how we launch it. It's quite a big day. We get around 2,000 people coming through the door, and lots of children and families, yeah. So that's a good way to start the Croc Awards. We do have our voting online too, so that starts on the same day. We also send packages to the schools. And up here, we're quite lucky this last year because we were locked down for 1 week, and then we were able to continue with normal life, but of course with restrictions. So schools were open. So we were able to, collaborate with the schools and also public libraries in the NT. So we send an email also with posters, the forms, but also the online voting. Yep, so that goes through to July, and we ended during our holiday program. We have a big party at the end of the holiday program. The reason why we do it only from May to July is because we do have other awards, and it gets a bit, we have our Young Territory Author Awards, and so it gets a little bit too much for the libraries to be able to, focus on everything. But we have had good results doing it through the holidays and having a party at the end of the holidays, yeah. What else? Let me see, sorry. All right, so this is our posters. I did have a presentation, but this is our posters. We do have the Yara poster up as well, but because our display posters are portrait, so we create our own as well, and that's what it looks like. And then the voting form, I haven't got one to show you here, but, oh yes, I do, sorry. That's our voting form there. And on the back of the form, it's got all the authors. So kids can see the books on one side and then also tick the boxes. And of course, this is all online as well. We do, sometimes we do have author presentations as well during the period of the awards, just to promote it. And at our party, of course, we do invite our local authors and all the schools. The way we do the voting, once we get all the votes in, we have a few categories. We have the schools winners. So any schools that entered, we actually, make sure that somebody from that class wins the prize. And then we have our lucky voters, which were these or the online ones. And then we also have the Lucky Dog prize at the party. And what we do at the beginning of the year, we ask publishers and Peter Powell, our bookshops, to donate books. In the past, we used to ask them to donate books that were signed by the authors, but sometimes we don't get that. We get a pack of books from the publishers. Last year, we didn't ask the publishers because we knew they were going through some hard times. So we ended up collaborating with our bookshop and buying lots of packages. And that's what our book price is. Now, to promote the Croc Awards during our holiday program, also what we do, we actually have a scavenger hunt for the whole of the holidays, which is 3 weeks at our libraries. And that's usually we collaborate with, and I haven't got the scavenger hunt flyer here, but we usually collaborate with Crocodilos Park, which they have crocodiles in that, and they give a big prize at the end, which is, I think there's books about crocodiles and entry to the park. And then they also bring a crocodile to a party so the kids get that experience. As I said, we do collaborate with schools and public libraries, and anybody that's welcome to join our Croc Awards. We haven't had that much. I was really keen to hear what Koala does, because with the schools, they collaborate a lot more than what we do. And I did write some things down. But in the past, we find it a bit hard because everybody's busy. But I'm going to try and do that this year and do a bit more collaboration with the schools, yeah. But yeah, they're quite a fun award, and our logo has been through, like, this is our new logo. It's been for a few years now, but before we used to have a crocodile. And yeah, we really want to promote reading and our books in our collection. We do have all, once the shortlisted comes out, we do try and we ordered all the books so the kids have plenty of copies of the books. And yes, all our libraries, we do a big display, and we do connect with the schools. We have our Patron You Club, which we go to the schools and with our mascots, and we do story time. And any of those schools will also go and make sure they have their posters and all our promotional materials and that. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Okay, thanks, Rose.
First questions. Sorry, this is my first time.
That's okay. Just jumping back, Megan, Koala stands for Kids Own Australian Literary Award.
Literature Awards, yeah.
Kids Own Australian Literature Award.
Awards,
And
yeah.
CROC stands for
Kids Oz Choice Awards.
Kids
Reading Oz Choice Awards.
Kids Reading Oz Choice Awards. And so
Yeah.
both of those awards are for Australian authors.
Yes, only Australian authors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go on now to Queensland, Sarah Customs.
Hello everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm the coordinator for the Bilby Awards in Queensland. We're probably the smallest award here at the moment. It's just me on the committee right now, and we don't have a massive turnout of voters. Last year was probably one of, weirdly, the most it's ever been voted for, which we were very unexpected with due to COVID, obviously. Our majority of voters come from schools. So we have both an online voting platform, which we run via SurveyMonkey through the CBCA Queensland website under a little Bilby plaque at the top. And I also have a form that can be sent out to schools when they request it. And then the school fills out the form and sends it back to me. And that's how we get the majority of our votes. The Bilby went through a change 2 years ago. It used to be an open award for any children's books, Australian or worldwide, over any time period. And then we were finding a lot of the books that were being voted for were the Treehouse books and J.K. Rowling and all of those, and it was getting voted for over and over and over again. So in 2019, it got changed to be a shadowing effect for the CBCA Notables Awards. So every single book that is on the CBCA Notable list, those are the ones that the kids can now vote for, which has been quite an interesting look at, because the awards have been obviously nominated by adults, now seeing, well, out of those books, which are the ones the kids are actually reading? And often it has not lined up with what has been won for the CBCA award. We do a little certificate at the end for the winners that gets sent out. And throughout the year, we didn't do it as much last year because we didn't have access to the State Library. But the year before, we were doing a little photo shoot with 3 of the nominated books and our little mascot Bilby on social media. And that was all done through the CBCA Queensland social media site. So it was being sent out through Facebook and our Twitter account and things like that. So that's how we run our award. It's quite small and very simple compared to all of you. But it's been working quite all right for the last little bit. Jenny, do you have anything further to say as one of the founders?
Yeah, I was in on the original committee. Bilby stands for Books I Love Best Yearly. And when we were establishing our award, there were a few already in existence across Australia. So we looked at their structure and how they developed their names and so on. I think that Koala, Croc, the West Australian one, they were already in existence at that time. I can't remember if Yabba was.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Our first one, I think it was to do with, I think it was International Year of Reading, 1990. And I think that's when we held our first one. It might have been 1990 or 91. What else can I add to Bilby? So it's still a two-way process, isn't it, Sarah? They look at the notables and they nominate. And then from their nominations, a short list is made and then they vote. The other thing is it's free to participate. And I think the Croc ones are also free.
Yeah, it's free.
Yeah. Okay. If there's any more questions, we'll hold them over to the end then. All right, we'll go over to Yabba, to Michelle.
Thanks, Jenny. I shall just share my screen, but I suppose a good thing to say, I'm Michelle Nye. I'm the current president. I took over from David last year. David Linky was our previous president, and I have had very big shoes to fill in a very difficult time. So I'll just share my screen. I have, like Megan, made a little PowerPoint, which I hope tells you a little bit more about Yabba. So basically it stands for the Young Australians Best Book Awards, and these were our winners from last year. And it's been a really different year, obviously going online. We did our online awards ceremony live, and it was a really special occasion to be able to still do that. And we had breakout rooms where we had loads of kids in schools participating. Melbourne basically went into the hardest of lockdowns, and here we are again doing it. So it was really exciting for our schools to still be able to participate in something live time and then actually speak to authors and illustrators afterwards in small breakout rooms. So Yabba was founded in 85, so it's our 36th year this year, and it was founded by a lady called Beatrice Fincher from Melbourne University, who was noticing that with the CBCA and what children were actually reading in her library and from library and industry associations that she had, there was a really big difference. And I'm sitting on the shoulders of Graham Davey, who's passed away, and David Linky, who I just spoke about before, who are previous presidents. But together, all of us feel the same way, that children's choice is key. So the real big why for Yabba is that it is about student motivation. It's engaging readers. It's giving them motivation to actually be a part of the judging process. And I think that is where that's Yabba's key. I think Croc and Koala, and obviously we all share that same way, same why about the importance of motivating kids. So I won't show my little videos. I've got some little videos about different authors who really love Yabba and have been our biggest advocates, because Yabba, unlike Koala and Croc, we have 4 parts of the year. The first part of the year is where we recommend, and then we rate our books. We recommend them, we read them, we rate them, and then we reward them, our 4 R's. Let's go through our terms and how it works. So term 1, we're recommending books, and this is where students nominate 4 of the the books that they love to read. They have to be published by an Australian author, be less than 10 years of age, and not have won a Yabba, and also have not been entered into the Yabba Hall of Fame. These will close at the end of term 1 on the 31st of March this year. In term 2, we want students to begin reading their shortlist. And I know a lot of our all of our department primary and secondary schools are members this year, and we are promoting that they are reading their 10 in their age category, so that motivation to keep reading. And we're wanting to also have discussions about what they're reading and why they're liking that book, and that's something that we're trying to push out with our VAPS, our virtual author program, which I'll talk about in a moment. Then in term 3, we rate our books, and our voting process, we've got 3 ways of voting. We can do an online vote, we can do borrowing stats votes, and then there's all the old-fashioned pencil and paper voting, which is being brought back this year. We took it off last year, going online. And the last part in term 4 is our reward system. And this year we are hoping and praying that we can go to Alphington Grammar on the 19th of November. Just note that date has changed. It just changed last week. We had a slight little clash with some things on our schedule. So it has changed the 19th of November. And yeah, we have up to the authors and illustrators, and we have an amazing signing ceremony. It's like a big basketball match space where all the authors and illustrators are around tables and chairs and getting their little autograph pages signed. It's like a superstar. Yeah, the vibe is just amazing and electric. But basically, yeah, all of our students from Prep to Year 9 can nominate 4 books. It's children's choice, it's Australian fiction, published in the last 10 years and can't have been a previous winner. So our nominations are open right now, and we're looking for online votes, borrowing stats from schools, and yeah, pen and paper is coming back. But one of the things that Yabba's been doing now for 4 years, we have partnered with the Department of Education and Training, and we're offering 10 virtual author visits across the year. Anyone can join into these. You just simply go to our website and register your attendance. And these are the authors and illustrators we've got lined up. Our very first one will be Andy Griffiths on the 23rd of February, very, very soon. And we've got a really great lineup for this year. Just check our website and you'll see, yeah, I'm just absolutely blown away at all the connections we've been able to make and the actual real authentic connections into the curriculum. So on Read Like a Pirate Day, Norman Jorgensen will be doing The Smuggler's Curse, and just to have Archie Roach on Sorry Day and Gabrielle Wong in Harmony Day. It's a really great lineup, and Frenae Lissac and Mark Greenwood when we do Anzac with their Simpson and his donkey. It's going to be a really great lineup. Our Yabba membership is free for all of our Department of Education and Training schools, and for anyone else it's a $50 membership fee, and that goes into producing all of the different things that we have. So there's our website, and I'll stop sharing. I hope I didn't take up too much time.
No, that was fine. You were very quick, actually.
Okay. Maybe too quick. I think it's very similar to Koala. I think that the real awards, which is the overshadowing body for Yabba, Croc and Koala, the real awards, the governing, or I guess the overarching umbrella of how we share our shortlist between the 3 Children's Choice Awards.
I think it's worth clarifying here too that we nominate and share shortlists together, the 3 groups, but we actually vote separately as states and territories and have our own awards day. So we can have different winners and honour books and things like that as well. So that's the difference. And for Koala, we have a slightly cheaper membership, but everyone has to pay, and we don't have any government funding. So yeah, just different structures, but
yeah,
same purpose.
Exactly right, Meg. Well said.
So there's a question in the chat room, which I think we try to answer now, because somebody asked with the Bilby Awards, was it only open to department schools? Well, the Bilby Awards, we only advertise in Queensland, but there's no reason why any other state can't, if they want to have a go at looking at the notables. But then somebody else says, does your school have to be in the relevant state to participate in each of these Children's Choice Awards? So if you're in Queensland, could you say, all right, I want to join the Yabba or the koala or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely, Jenny. Yeah,
Yes.
We've
Yes,
had
sir.
votes across Australia, and I think we had some votes from Singapore last year for the Yabba Awards, so wide and far.
Yeah, I even had a family from South Australia one year, just a mother and her children join
Mm.
and get involved because she'd heard about it and things. So yeah, very open to anyone joining us. Yeah.
Yeah, when I advertised this, I did try to, make it Australia-wide. And it's really interesting that nobody from Tasmania, South Australia or ACT has joined into this session. And those are the 3 states that don't have a Children's Choice Award.
Mm.
South Australia, I think, used to, and it stopped. And Tasmania, I think, also used to have an award, and ACT. So they all did at some stage, but just nobody to continue on with it. Okay. So we'll go on now to West Australia. Chris. No, Deb. Sorry, Deb.
Hello, everybody. How is everyone?
Hi.
Can you see?
Yep.
All right.
Yep, all good.
Are we working?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. Hi. I'm Deb Connell from Western Australia. It's kind of warm over here at the moment. The WABRA, or WA Young Readers Book Awards, as we're known, started in 1980 and has been continuing ever since. It was Layla Hoffman that started it, and her husband Norm. And apparently they went over into the United States, into Georgia, and saw something going on in the States there, and then brought it back and had this idea of starting it up, and off it went. Now, at the moment, there's only 5 of us on the committee. So we're kind of probably like a lot of groups where we're kind of not quite struggling. We're getting the job done, but we've had to cut back a lot of things, unfortunately. From 1980, I was looking back, and they had over 50 books on the reading list. They had 2 lists. Our lists have cut down dramatically because we just couldn't, schools couldn't afford, or libraries probably couldn't afford to buy copies of all these. And we can't afford to, count all the votes. How we work is we have an older list, we have a younger list, and we have a picture book list. Picture books came in at 2010. So virtually we have, and anyone in WA can vote for any of these. We have online voting, and we still on our website, you can online vote, and you can also download the voting slip, a paper one if you choose. And we also have our nominations online, or you can download your nominations. So we take nominations at any time, and we just hang on to them. We have usually the committee is going through all of these, and we have a few criteria. Our books can only be 5 years or less. We have overseas and Australian authors. And at the moment, and we haven't quite changed this in our little rules, but for the longest time, we always asked that the author be living. It was mainly because we used to, whoever nominated the winning book, we would actually get back to the publisher to see if they could get us a copy of for the child that nominated the book. And I think what threw the spanner in the works is when J.K. Rowling started to win. And I think we got a signed copy of Rowling's in 2000. And that was it. They sent back and say, well, we can't provide because too many people are asking. So we've got the nominations just keep rolling in. We hang on to them for the following year. At the moment, for this year, we have 16 picture books on the list. We have 17 younger, and we have 16 older. Last year, we had a few more on the list. We had up to 24. So it's probably because last year was so messy, we just didn't get enough. Students can vote at any time, and voting stops on the end of September, so at the end of the term, and then we all scramble and get all our votes together. We have a tally sheet on our website, so you can just grab that. You can tally up your votes. You can have your kids voting individually, or they can vote online. And we have we then put them all together, and then we go through, crunch all the numbers, and that's usually Julie, and she works out we've got a range of how to points of the award for how the children vote. So we have on the voting slip, it says terrific, good, okay, or not for me. And each of those are weighted with the numbers. And then when we sort out who the winner is by we get all the numbers. Certainly votes have gone down over the years. I've been on the committee since 1997. Two of us have been on even longer than that. And then we've had Mandy and Julie have joined us a few years ago. So things have changed dramatically where we used to have thousands and thousands of paper votes that we'd have to sort and count. So thank goodness for technology, it's a lot easier. We are free. You don't have to buy any merchandise. And we find a lot of meet teachers and say, I use the reading list. And I might set a task where everybody needs to use, grab one of the reading books from your list. And I thought, well, that's fine. That's what it's there for. But we do have merchandise, and this is what we sell. And this is the only way we make money. This is this year's poster at the back. Kali Howarth, an author and illustrator that lives in Western Australia, has done the poster for us. We do pay them because we thought, you know, we try to promote our West Australian people. And the one before was Ashka. Hopefully we try to get Franna Lissac has done one for us. James Foley's done one for us. So they're always really obliging. Our posters, we charge $6. We have bookmarks, and we charge a bundle, got 50 for a bundle for $7. And then we sell stickers. I don't know if you can see this, but every year we have a different color sticker that has the year on it. That's his last year's. And so you can just buy the stickers. That's $6 a sheet. And that's how we provide, get our money to keep things going. We pay for all the printing. Postage is an absolute killer for us because we do have a fair few schools and public libraries up north. And once you start putting some bookmarks into a package, it gets very expensive. So we've tried to subsidize as much as we could to keep people involved and hopefully keep us running. We do have, we have had a grant from Grilled, gave us $300, which was a godsend to help pay for a few bills. But otherwise, we find it's really tricky to find some money to keep things going. We work out either Mandy's house, or we go to a little coffee shop, and they've been really good to us. And we have our meetings there, so everybody can join in. We start kind of at the beginning, and so everything's out on our website already. And then we have our AGM, and that's kind of where we get a lot of people come, and they have been good. We've got a really good core people that really come and support us. And we make sure that we try to treat them as well as they can. And it's kind of like a networking sort of situation. We have AJ Betts, who's on our list with Hive this year. She's going to be our guest speaker. And then because we no longer have a presentation night, we then will pay up to about $450 at the moment. So whoever comes to our AGM gets a little lucky dip, and then they get that illustrator author to their school to the value of currently at $450. And we thought, well, at least we're supporting our West Australian authors and illustrators that way best we can. We're no longer able to support doing a big presentation like we used to. But we thought, well, this is some way to keep it going. Our books, when we do through the nominations, books are on the list according to how many nominations they get. So, you know, if we get 80 books and we go through, or we get 90 or more, and sometimes we get hundreds of nominations, there's always a few books that get quite a few nominations. So that will go on the list. But we're finding a problem with finding things in print, because we will get several books when we think, okay, that's really good. Yep, we got enough people nominating that, and we can't get copies, or there's no copies available in Australia. And we've had quite a few feedback from other libraries and schools are saying, we're trying to get these books, but we can't. So that's a problem we've found, that with the being having enough books that actually could be on the list. What else? We haven't had an award ceremony in, maybe more than 8 years. We used to hire the Subiaco Theater, or we've been into the Playhouse, and we had authors and illustrators come. Kids would actually do presentations of the winning books, and it was fabulous. But once with the insurance costs went up, we had to stop that because we found a one-off event was going to cost us over $800 just for insurance. So that had to stop. So that's a bit of a problem. Our winners get a trophy, and it's made in Western Australia. So that's, and they get a letter. And we are, if they're local, then we have had a lot of luck with them coming in to our AGM so they can meet actually some of the library staff that attend. We have a Hall of Fame. We have 8 members in the Hall of Fame. This goes back, it starts with Roald Dahl. He won 4 times. We've got Victor Kelleher, which has won, I think, 4 times. Andy Griffiths has won the most. And the only way they can get in the Hall of Fame, you actually have to win an award, so a trophy. So I think that's about it. I can't think of anything else. Oh, I know. We have to have, I've kind of worked out, we need about $4,500 to work, keep us running. And I'm just wondering, how did everybody else really struggle finding money? Because we put in grants and we don't have much luck. And we want to keep it free for people to use. We don't want, if you can't afford it, and that's what we're finding, a lot of people over here have, library staff have very tiny budgets. So we've tried to make it, it's, keeping the posters at $6. We've also asked the authors, I don't know if you can see it, but along here, we also asked them to put the name of Waybra at the bottom. So the following year, you just chop that off and you just have a reading poster that you can use for as long as you want. Can't think of anything else. I think that's about all. But thank you very much. I know I talked fast and
no, that was really interesting because it sort of brought back memories to me, because I think it was when we set up the Bilby Awards, we really did model it on yours. And so we really had that international with the Roald Dahls and stuff being nominated all the time. It's only just recently, as Sarah said, that we've changed it to the notables. I also had exactly the same voting system. I was the coordinator one year, and all those little bits of paper with the weighted, they liked, I didn't like. We ended up scrapping that system in the end. It just took so long doing all the voting. But yeah, now we all went to an online system then too. We had quite a good system at one stage, and then the server that was holding it crashed and we lost everything, and then we had to scratch again. But our
it is hard, and I'll just find people are interested, and we all find it's hard to sort of get promotion out.
Yeah,
that's always a bit tricky for us. We find we're often finding it's often word of mouth. And when people come, there's so many new staff coming and going all the time, and they'll say, oh, I've never heard of Waybra. But once they kind of jump on board, they sort of stick with us. And we've had people that have just been with us for so long and really good with, like, I think Ocean Reef High School. Oh, excellent. Getting those nominations in. And, we just get heaps from them. Really keen readers. And it's really interesting when you start looking at all the nominations over the years. And we do try to read as many of these books as possible, mainly because make sure they stand alone. And that's often a problem. But the whole wave of different genre that people were reading, I mean, for a while there, all we were reading was like zombie books. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, how many zombie books can you put on a reading list? And then we had all the werewolves and stuff, and you're thinking, oh, you can't have a reading list that has half zombies or that. So it's interesting.
That was the worry for us too, because Queensland is run by the CBCA Queensland branch, and and none of the others are. Has Waybra thought about approaching? Pardon? Are you CBCA, Michelle?
No, Koala and Yabba are standalone children's choice only, no adults.
Yeah, we're standalone too, so that's it.
But
It is,
but we're the
it's
only one
interesting.
that is, Queensland's the only one that is a CBCA. So I was just
That's
going to
right.
say, if Wayborough is having trouble getting funding, have you thought of approaching CBCA WA to give you some support? And there's also a couple of posts. Creative Kids Tales is always happy to discuss sponsorship opportunities. Just email her. So you'll find that in the chat room. And also Michelle suggested partnerships with educational groups that might be able to support.
Right. We have, in the past we had, our trophies were paid for, but then those, companies, bookshops changed hands and that, so and it's always just being one step ahead, but it is, I mean, I find, because I'm the secretary and this is like, oh my God, money and postage. Now, we are hoping that postage does not go up as of April. Often it goes up in April or it goes up in sometimes October. And we've got a 3-tiered postage already to try to make it fair. We thought, oh, let's just have a standard postage, but that's not fair because a lot of people can only afford one sticker and one poster, and that's it. And if you're asking, $14 for postage or something, it's just not fair. So it's fiddly.
Okay, Chris, we'll go on. We've got one more to go, and then we'll open it up to a little bit more.
Thank you, everybody.
Support. So I'll ask Barbara now to talk about what they do in Singapore, which is totally different again to anything that we do in Australia.
Yeah, it sure is. I've been listening with great interest because it is so very different, because we are probably one of the younger awards, I guess. We only started in 2009. So we haven't been going very long at all. And I think it's just such a totally different model because we are all international schools that take part in it here. Not that that's how it should be. We invite other schools, but for the moment, it's mainly international schools that take part. And so that also makes it slightly different because we are financially competitive between our schools. So getting funding and things like that is perhaps a little bit different because of that. I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that some of my colleagues are in the room today from Singapore. And certainly I'm not the huge expert on the Red Dot Awards. Our current person who's running the committee, Kim Klein, is in the room. And so Kim, I would invite you to unmute and chirp in at any time if you think that I'm not perhaps saying the right things here about how our awards work. But we're at the point now, ours is not actually a true children's choice. And the reason is it started off very, very small with only about 4 or 5 schools being involved in it. And the reason it started was, I think somebody mentioned earlier on, my colleague Katie Day. Katie Day and I both started here in Singapore in 2005, and both of our schools had very British influence, and we were very concerned that here we were living in Asia, and in my school in particular, I think every year, the kids were reading Tom's Midnight Garden, published in 1958, The Suitcase Kid, published in 1992, Boy, 1984, and we just thought, well, there have to be books published outside of the US and the UK and that are more recent. And not only did we want to expose the children to it, we want to expose the teachers to it. So we started to talk about, what if we started a book award in Singapore? And what if we tried to get books from all over the world and kept them really current? So our awards are books in the last 4 years, and they can come from anywhere in the world. And in fact, we encourage translated works, and we always try to have in each of our 4 divisions something from the region, if possible. It's not always possible because there aren't always good, really great books that are worthy to go in, but when we can, we do. So with that just very small start, Katie and I started talking about, well, let's have this award. What will we call it? And I don't know, maybe this was Katie's thing. In those days, they used to refer to Singapore as the little red dot, because we were just a little red dot on the map. And so we called it the Red Dot Awards, and a whole other story there, because of course there is a Red Dot Design Award, and they took us to court and we had to pay some money. to them, to a lawyer, to be allowed to keep using this name, the Red Dot Awards, but it's ours now, so they can't take that away from us. So in 2009, some things happened simultaneously. Our local network, which was called the International School Libraries Network, we incorporated because we had held a couple of conferences and we made some money. So then we started to think, well, what can we do that makes it, will add value to our network? And one of them was having this Children's Choice Award. Now, because we wanted to manipulate it a little bit, we chose, we started by choosing the books. We decided there would be 8 books in each category, and that the librarians from each of the schools would nominate them. And this was to get out of that kind of the habit of British kids reading British books, American kids reading American books, and us wanting to acknowledge all the different nationalities that are here in Singapore. So that was what happened in 2009, and we wrote up some criteria, and we started talking about what the books would be like. We wanted to be able to have, the other thing, surprisingly, in 2009 was a lot of books were hard to get, as somebody else, as I think Deborah, you mentioned too. People would nominate books that were impossible to buy in Singapore. And we were really lucky. One year we had Australian Standing Orders sponsored us, and they sent us multiple copies of all the Australian titles we had, which was absolutely wonderful. But for the most part, anything that it's a fairly low cost thing, the Red Dot Awards, because our big event is the Readers' Cup, which links into the Red Dot Awards. And that's where we get a lot of our sort of promotion happening. So the other thing is too, we wanted to promote, of course, we want English language books because English is the language in most of our schools. And we knew that there were really good English language books coming out of Singapore, India, Malaysia, the Philippines, and these were not being reflected in any of the other Children's Choice Awards that we saw around the world. So we asked the librarians in the various schools to start and nominate books that were like that. We wanted books that we would feel happy having multiple copies of, so that we could then feed them into classrooms or book groups and really give these books exposure amongst our students. And there certainly would be books they would not normally have seen. But so we started off with our meetings. Sometimes the meetings were in somebody's house. So I was interested to hear how you were talking about your meetings, because ours struggle, particularly since COVID. We've really struggled trying to do Zoom meetings where the librarians are all getting together to talk about these books. We just have a Google Doc that we run and people fill it in over time. And we nominate, and then the schools try to buy the books. We insist that every book has a second reader. So we have this big long list of books that have been nominated, and people fill in on the spreadsheet whether they, what they think of them, and then we get second and third readers until we have, quite a strong list of books. And around this time of the year, remember our school year starts in August. So by now we have a very long list of books, and I've given you a link to where you can see that long list for this year. And we're starting now to consolidate. We're having second and third readers, and we're cutting back to get 8 books in each category. And of those 8 books, we're really trying to achieve balance. We want different genres, different diversity. We want books from around the world. We want translations. So these are the things that we're looking for. We're also currently thinking that we need to update this thing that you're seeing now on the screen. Particularly, somebody commented on the fact we shouldn't be saying boy, girl, main characters anymore. So the committee, the ISLN committee, has decided that we will go back and discuss changing some of this criteria perhaps to update it. So we do have, once we get the 8 books, we just simply announce them, and we put up promotional materials online like posters and stickers and things like that that anybody can download and print off. We definitely try to get books that are easily available, and we now have 11 schools that are participating. So generally those librarians from all 11 schools will be nominating books. A lot of those schools will have more than one librarian, so it's a reasonably big group of people who are nominating. we don't have any prizes, but people apparently appreciate the fact that they are recognised by the red dot. Because we are all different schools and we're all independent schools, obviously we don't just bring in authors that can be shared. And for us to have an author here, in the good days when we could bring authors in, you know, you would really spend between $8,000 and $12,000 bringing an author. So to have one author was really prohibitive. We're really lucky in Singapore, the National Library Board or the Arts Council bring in authors, and we can get those people quite inexpensively, but often, of course, they don't tie up with the books that we have nominated. But this year, because of our Readers' Cup, where we use some of the books, a subset of the books that are in our Red Dot Awards for Readers' Cup, our network, which has a little bit of money, is doing some online author talks with authors that have written the books. Anyone can vote. We have online voting as well as just a Google spreadsheet where librarians can fill it in and put in collected votes. So like with my little kids, I just they put a coloured paper clip into a plastic bag and then we know which grades voted for what. Really simply, the older kids vote online. So that's all done that way. With the Readers' Cup, of course, we get Kahoots that are done for the Readers' Cup. So they are actually for the Red Dot books as well. So that is like a double thing there. And in the last 2 years, we've had our Kahoots written for us. It was one of the things that we found quite difficult, getting consistency and quality in the writing of questions. And so our network pays for Marge Osborne Kirkland, who used to be in the CBCA. She was at Aquinas on the Gold Coast for many years. She's been writing our questions for us. So that makes it quite a lot easier. The year before last, we had more than 6,000 votes. So although we're only small and, you know, not all getting together and it's not the children choosing the books, there is still a huge amount of interest in those books. So I've given you a couple of links here. The one down the bottom, Red Dot LL long list. Those are the books that we've got for this year. It's just a YouTube video, and I think there are something like 57 books on it with some comments about why they've been chosen. And at the point that we're at now, where we've got these 57 books, this is where we have to say, well, have we got a good spread? Do we have the balance that we want? We don't want all American books. We don't want, you know, books that are all the zombie books and things like that. So we try to get a good spread and get something that appeals. We also find that the age group is quite interesting because, you know, sometimes with those really little kids, you need something quite easy as well as something a little bit more challenging. And although anybody can read and vote in any age group, that's fine. And we do have mature, which that makes it a bit more difficult. I'm in a primary library. I don't buy those books at all for our library. But the rest of the books I buy multiple copies of in the early younger and older readers. Yeah, so we do have to have that good spread. And the shortlist will be announced in May. Don't know, is that it? Yeah. Oh, and of course, what I have to acknowledge, I absolutely have to acknowledge Katie, who did actually do a presentation at a conference called Prizing Balance. And this link here will take you to the links to all of the global Children's Choice Awards and talking about what it is we're trying to achieve with that. So I really just want to give Katie that plug for Prizing Balance. Okay, I think that's about it, really.
Great, thank you, Barb. There was a question over in the room I saw before. I'm just noticing that Yabba has 10,000 votes in 2020. That's pretty huge. A question to Sarah was, how do I get my school involved in the Bilby Awards? So
Yes, I have responded privately, but so
okay.
it's open to everyone, and you can look on our website or via the CBCA Queensland newsletter, or if you just contact us through the branch through email, we'll also respond to you that way.
Yeah. So just go to qld.cbca.org.au and you'll see the little Bilby up in the menu to do that. Ah, thank you, Michelle. She's popped that up. Okay, so I think we're just open to any more questions that anybody has that they would like to ask anyone, or whether it's the people who've just been sitting and listening, if you've got questions for the speakers, or if the speakers want to ask each other questions. I'll just make it open to anyone. Anyone there ready to speak? You can turn on your microphones now if you want to ask a question. Can I then just say quickly, there's a couple of authors in there. Is there any author there who would like to say, you know, what the impact has been on them if they've been shortlisted or if they've been nominated? Are there any out there?
Hi, it's Diane. I guess.
Yay!
Thank you. I guess firstly, well, hello everybody. Nice to see so many familiar faces.
Yeah.
From an author's point of view, well, one, I think on behalf of other authors and illustrators, I'd just really like to congratulate and applaud your, you know, this work you do. Is like, it's really, it's amazing and humbling. And I think that you're putting so much effort of your, I'm sure what's a lot, your own time into empowering readers. I mean, we've all got the same aim. We want kids to read great books, so that your work's really appreciated by authors and illustrators. I know I'm fortunate to be on the WABRA list this year with The Dog with Seven Names, which is really exciting because the book's been out for a couple of years now. Just came out in Chinese, which is exciting. But it just means that it gives it that extra little bounce again. So it's really hard with keeping that attention on books. And so to have these awards with their, it's just a lovely surprise out of the blue that gives it another little boost. And so, yeah, I just want to say thank you all so much. It's your passion it's really wonderful. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Di. Anyone else? I was just wondering if Barb wanted to just very quickly show what the books were that were on their shortlist to give us a flavour of what it was last year.
Okay, just hang on a second. I'll have to go and find. Just let me go to the Red Dot Awards and to the site. So I'll just say too that one of the things that was interesting was I met somebody the other day who was telling me that we had a big impact on a local book that we put on the short list. So that was really nice to hear that a little book that would never have got traction otherwise did get traction. So I'll just share my screen here. Hopefully. Okay, so these were the books for this year. Okay, I don't know if you can see that, but you'll see there that that's where the, you know, the spread. So like Jerome at Heart is a translation. You Hold Me Up.
Category, which category are you talking about?
Early years. So if you look at the early years, for instance, so Jerome at Heart's a translation. Drawn Together has a very Asian theme. You Hold Me Up is by Canadian Indigenous author, I think. So that's how we try and get that spread of really kind of different books. And you'll see books there that are from Asia and as well as, you know, those more kind of mainstream ones. And you'll definitely see quite a few Australian books there. I mean, I'm sure you'll see there in younger readers, The Happiness Box and Kenzie and Max. They're all Australian. They're Australian.
So the Cal Wilson one.
Sorry?
The Cal Wilson, George and the Great Bum Stampede.
Yep, that one. So there are quite a few. But you see that one there, the younger readers one, Secrets of Singapore. So, you know, that would be a book that probably wouldn't get much traction outside of Singapore. I certainly hope by showing this to you now maybe you'll think, oh, I wonder if that, because that's a really interesting book by a young Singaporean author who does a huge amount of research too. She has a whole series of books, and that one's about Changi Airport. And, you know, any kid who's a little bit of a buff about travel and airports would probably love that book. It deserves to be outside of Singapore, not just here.
I must say I have for a few years been following Red Dot Awards, because it just brings to my attention books that I don't always see, and that I know that they're going to be pretty good reads. So I've read a few of them myself over time, discovered a few hidden treasures in amongst them all.
You know, although we do put in some books that are fairly, you know, well known and have had awards previously, like the 57 Bus and the mature readers there, which I mean is just essential reading. We had hoped everybody would read that book. That, yeah, we try to have books that perhaps aren't those mainstream award-winning books.
Okay, that's great. Thanks. Any more questions from anyone else out there, or we'll bring the session to a close?
I wanted to make a comment just building on what was just said about different books. I know with the Real Awards with Koala and Yabba and Croc, is obviously there are a lot of mainstream ones there, but every year there are a couple that pop up that aren't. And so, for example, Leonard the Lyrebird a couple of years ago, and that was a book that came from a crowdfunded book by two girls in the Blue Mountains, and of course the support of schools up there, and that's just given them a lovely platform. It's a beautiful book. And then a teacher in a Melbourne school who created a picture book, Artie Farty Marty, obviously he got from, you know, but these books that just pop out too. So, you know, even though it sometimes seems it's always the main ones, there's actually all these lovely little gems that pop up every year, which I think is, you know, and their kids have chosen them based on authors they've met or whatever, experiences at school, or what their parents have taken to the bookshop to see, whatever. But I think there's always those little gems too, which is worth pointing out here.
Yeah, definitely. Well said, Megan. I think that goes for So Wrong as well. I know at my school they love the So Wrong series, but being a Victorian author and illustrator team, it might not be something as well known in New South Wales, for instance. Yeah,
definitely. And we see a little that nice connection.
Yeah, it's a great crossover.
Definitely. And the NT as well. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
It's a good balance of cross Australian authors and illustrators, I think, too, with the Real Awards.
Yeah, no, with us, because we don't have many authors up here, so we struggle to.
You got some goodies.
Yeah, we have got some goodies.
And they're regularly on the short list for the Real, so well done.
So it's always really cool to see them on the list, because that makes it more relevant to our readers, you know.
And I really appreciated hearing from you two, about from the public library point of view too, because we obviously do ours through schools, being school-based people, and that's sort of a challenge for us. So I noted down some of your ideas about how you do your open day and your scavenger hunts and things and your mascot story times. And so that was really, really helpful, because we're coming from very different contexts.
We are very different, and our funding comes from our council, so we get supported to run the awards every year. So
whereas we just volunteer in different schools. But thank you so much, everybody.
But I got some ideas too from everybody.
That was one of the ideas that I had for this, was that you would get ideas off each other plus all the other people out there. I've had one drop off already, so before anyone else does, I'd just like to say thank you to everyone for giving your time, and I want to give a little plug.